Welcome to Sound of Hope News. I'm your host, Wei Fang, and my co-host.
This is Kathy Zhang.
From San Francisco, California. And Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. U.S. Western time, be here and serve you as your loyal journalist. All right, so great. I hope you have a good weekend, and we took some rest. Actually, not really rest. We took some break from our news and busy with other things. Anyway, enough things to be busy with, and which is so good. And that's why we do journalism. We do journalism. All right. So without further ado, let's just move into the news of today. We got a number of things that are happening, and we want to report to you. Okay. All right, so first let's talk about impeachment. The impeachment trial for sure is moving into the Senate. And today, just 1 hour ago, Joe Biden said he said it needs to happen. Okay, he gave his word on that. And needless to say, what concerns us how it would happen in the Senate. So one thing is that this time the Senate, so-called Senate leadership, has concluded. So who are the leadership? So basically, it would be the leaders of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. Okay, Chuck Schumer as well as Mitch McConnell, they both are the leadership. So this is what is strange about this Senate is 50-50, right? You know that both parties 50-50. There's no clear majority. And then, so this happened about 20 years ago. So when that happened, who is the majority leader? There's no clear. So basically, there's not enough president. So they work together. Sometimes they share this so-called chairmanship. For this time and some later time they switch, things like that. So we don't know the details. But this apparently Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell agreed that on the detail of the impeachment. The chairing person, the judge will not be the Supreme Court judge, okay? Will not be John Roberts. The reason is this is not a sitting president. This is a private citizen, okay? So the judge actually is a senator, and his name is called Leahy. And Leahy senator, he's from Vermont, and Patrick Leahy will be preside over the trial. So then the Senator John Cornyn from Texas asked this question on the Twitter. He said, how does a senator preside like a judge and serve as a juror too? As you can know it, right? So it's basically senators, they are the jurors. And then in this case, it is not a third party and Supreme Court judge, but it's a Democrat senator. And then this very Senator Patrick Leahy in the first impeachment ruled guilty on President Trump, former President Trump. So this apparently raised the issue of is that fair or not? But fair or not, this is moving on. And then another piece of news is currently Epoch Times has gotten confirmation from 29 senators, 29 Republican senators saying that they would oppose such a trial. So if we do the math, the Democrat needs to have their all 50 votes plus another 17 votes from the Republican senators in order to deliver a verdict. All right. So far we know one person who could be voting for guilty, and his name is Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney from the state of Utah. And so far we haven't heard any second name, but now we heard 29 Republican senators who said no, they oppose such a trial. So Kathy, basically 29. If you add another 5, you got 34, right? Mm-hmm. Then this this trial will be futile. Basically, there won't be any guilty verdict if you add another 5 people. So basically, as different media has reported, and if you ask my opinion, I would say the chance of President Trump being found guilty is nearly zero. There's no chance. But still, the show goes on. I mean, the effort is going on, and there's enough questions about the meaningless of this, meaningful of this. And Senator Tom Cotton from Arkansas, this is Republican senator, he said, I think a lot of Americans are going to think it is strange that the Senate is spending its time trying to convict and remove from office a man who left office a week ago. So is this really the good use of the Senate's time? You are the people, people's sovereignty, It's for you to judge. This is the first piece of news. And Kathy?
Yeah. Just allow me just give you update. Actually, this evening, Democrats did deliver the article of impeachment against Trump to Senate, and Chuck Schumer announced for Senate to consider it at 2:30 p.m. tomorrow. So on the other hand, some Trump supporters are seeking to run for offices. So first of all, is the very famous President Trump's former press secretary.
Yeah.
Right.
Sarah Huckabee. So Sarah Huckabee announced today that she would be seeking the running for governor for the state of Arkansas. As you may remember, actually her father, Mike Huckabee, was the Arkansas governor. And actually, she probably took this hint from President Trump, because once in the public, and President Trump indeed said, I think Sarah will be great for a Arkansas governor, and it would be fantastic. She probably took that lead, and now 5 days after President Trump left White House, and Sarah Huckabee announced that she would run for the governor in the state of Arkansas. And she said she went through all kinds of tests. It's just went through the harshest attack, and she prevailed. She delivered. So she thinks she's qualified for that position. And then that's one thing. Another person is, the MyPillow, the CEO of MyPillow, Mike Lindell, right?
Yeah. So the MyPillow CEO, Mike Lindell, he indicated he might run for governor of Minnesota. And he told the media that former President Trump already endorsed him. And he was asked whether this endorsement will be helpful. And he said, of course. Why won't it help? He said that the guy was the best president in history. So Lindell said he would bring common sense and unity. And he thought, you run things like a business. And he looked at problems and solution. And so he seems to be considering it.
So Kathy, let's talk about this third party, right? There's enough. Yeah.
Excuse me.
There was enough, rumors about whether former President Trump, would start a third party, and it's called a Patriot Party, right? So what is unfolding over there?
Okay. All right. So today, actually, there is a committee formed and filed with the Federal Election Commission. Okay. So, excuse me. So this commission is called. Let me try to find it. So this commission is called Mega Patriot Party. People know MEGA meaning make America Great Again. So it filed a notice of organization with the FEC, and it claimed, in the filing, it claimed that President Trump's team was linked to the new committee. But Trump's team said it did not authorize the filing of a form, and has not entered into any joint fundraising agreement with the new committee, and it has no knowledge of the Patriot Party's activities. And President Trump, Donald Trump for president, it has its own organization, filed a miscellaneous report with the FEC, said that it wanted to disavow the activities of a committee named Patriot Party. And the team said, to be clear, Donald J. Trump for president has no affiliation with the Patriot Party, which is not authorized by Mr. Trump or Donald J. Trump for president. So although a new poll done by Just News and Rasmussen showing that a hypothetical Patriot Party led by Trump would be more popular with voters than the Republican Party. So yeah, you can see how it is with this new poll, although it's a hypothetical question. You can see Patriot Party got 23% versus the Republican got 17%. Yeah.
Okay. So let's move on. So and in yesterday there's at this World Economic Forum. Okay, this is annual time that a world leader, a political leader and a financial leader, economic leader, and whatever, they just get together and then talk about the issues of facing this world. And the CCP leader, General Secretary of the CCP, this is Mike Pompeo's word. He never chose to say President Xi. He said the General Secretary Xi. Anyway, so let's assume his way of calling Xi Jinping, and in his speech he calls for countries to cast aside quote unquote ideological prejudice and reject the outdated Cold War mentality in an effort to fight global challenges. Okay, and so he basically said a lot of things. The gist of it is about with the President Trump not in the White House, let's just forget about things. Let's come back and we aim at the same direction and so on and collaborate and so on and so forth. All right, just make it short. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki and said today in the press conference, she said the comments don't change anything. She said
we have the clip.
We do.
Take a watch.
Let's take a look.
No. I think our approach to China remains what it has been since for the last months, if not longer. We're in a serious competition with China. Strategic competition with China is a defining feature of the 21st century. China is engaged in conduct that it hurts American workers, blunts our technological edge, and threatens our alliances and our influence in international organizations. What we've seen over the last few years is that China is growing more authoritarian at home and more assertive abroad. And Beijing is now challenging our security, prosperity, and values in significant ways that require a new U.S. approach. And this is one of the reasons, as we were talking about a little bit earlier, that we want to approach this with some strategic patience. And we want to conduct reviews internally through our interagency, even though I stumbled over that. I needed a little more coffee before I came out here, I guess. We wanted to engage more with Republicans and Democrats in Congress to discuss the path forward. And most importantly, we want to discuss this with our allies. So no, the comments don't change anything. We believe that this moment requires a strategic and a new approach forward.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. How do you think about the new administration's strategy with China?
Yeah, I think they are basically continue with what the bandwagon has been moving in that same direction. I think President Trump really put on a big firewall against the CCP, and now basically it's earned an approval of the both parties, become a bipartisan consensus. Okay, so in certain sense, it's like politically incorrect to change that direction, and I applaud that Biden's administration's stance on this issue. I hope they can stand firm and stand long. And in the meantime, just a brief report about Secretary of the Defense, right, Lloyd Austin. Also, in the last couple of days, when he was questioned by the Senate, actually repetitively about his stance and his view on the CCP, he was pretty firm. He said between China and Russia, China is the most threat. And in the meantime, in the last couple of days, it's interesting enough, as General Secretary Xi issued this reconciliatory remarks at the World Economic Forum, China sent fleet of fighter jet over the airspace, the airspace of the Taiwan. So, and that was the largest one in history. Mm-hmm. So apparently China is trying, CCP to be precise, is trying to test the bottom line of Biden's administration. So, yeah, we'll see how things will will unfold down the road. But it is indeed kind of Yeah, it just feel good to see that this part of the policy is continuing. Although in the last 1 week, a lot of Trump's policy was reversed.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I think because I watched more of the press secretary's press conference today, quite a few reporters raised this question about China. Different on different front, also including like a Huawei.
Okay.
Yeah, about how President Trump has just enlisted as not to sell to Huawei, right?
Right. So
Yeah.
what about that? I'm really curious. I did not watch those. Yeah.
Yeah. So what this press secretary said was he basically right now it's a status quo, but she said it just needs to be more, just like she answered before, needs more interagencies review, and she always emphasized on discussing the strategy with allies. So it seems to me that this new administration is right now they are still not really like forming a very firm stand yet. They're just kind of a wait and see and try to talk to different leaders in the different countries. That's how I feel about it, just based on the question and answers. Yeah. So I think on the other hand, Xi Jinping is also just testing them because what Xi Jinping said on the Davos event, a lot of it is the same talking points when he talked about 4 years ago when the Trump administration just started. And he just talked about those multilateralism and the win-win outcomes. And this time, in addition, he also signaled that he does not intend to change course in the face of United States pressure. So I also saw a lot of different comments saying that Xi Jinping is really trying to testing the Biden administration on his stance. So far, what the new administration is showing that but I noticed. Do you notice that the press secretary is saying in China is the competition? It's not the adversary. So I think that's kind of a, signals something, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. I agree with you actually. Folks. I think on the surface, if you just don't, reading in between the line, if you were just take a glance, you would say there's a clear consensus and it's a bipartisan policy. And but if you really read into details on specifics, you can tell the difference. Yeah. So, but I hope personally, that Biden administration would continue Trump's China policy, which was has been really good and it was never before unprecedented. Okay, so President Trump started something new, completely new from the previous administration since Nixon time. And he pretty much just wrap it up and start a new chapter. Let's see whether the current administration would continue with that chapter. Okay, let's move on to a small piece of news. It's interesting. Okay, as you know, Jeff Bezos, right, the owner of the Amazon, the CEO of Amazon, and also the Washington Post, he's face a issue now. Okay, his employee of Amazon, now want to vote to whether to form a union. Then there's an issue, okay? Pandemic is around, right? So when you form a union, how do you vote? Mail-in ballot or in-person voting? Okay, so that's the issue. And so a few months ago, before the election, actually Jeff Bezos, he said the following, okay? He said, President Trump discredits the upcoming November election based upon the idea that mail-in voting necessitated by the public health and the pandemic he has failed to tame will create, quote unquote, the greatest rigged election in history. So basically, he's advocating for the mail-in voting because of the pandemic, okay, public health issue brought by the pandemic. So interesting. just yesterday, and his company issued another statement which says the mailing. This is talking about the union voting, okay?
Right.
The vote of whether to form a union, if conducted through mail ballot election, would disenfranchise workers because of its lack of security. Okay, and that the NRLB failed to outline what continued an outbreak. So
Are you serious?
yeah, this is true. This is true. What do you think? What do you think? Okay, a few months ago is that mailing ballot voting, Trump discredited that thing. Now they're saying that it would disenfranchise workers.
Yeah, let's take a look at the Washington Post editorial board, what they wrote, right? Last August, it says, in a democracy, the first rule of leadership is to model trust in electoral processes, tempered by willingness to reform their demonstrated flaws. President Trump, by contrast, is currently engaging in a campaign to discredit the upcoming November election based on the idea that mail-in votes necessitated by the public health. I guess you talked about it before. Mm-hmm. So it's just, I don't know how people think of this. It's like when it's applied to me, it will be different applied to other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what's your comment? Type on something quick there so that we can see it. And yeah, this is okay. And all right, let's move on. Let's talk about the Twitter.
Yeah.
As you know, the symbol of Twitter is that little bird, right? Mm-hmm. Now there's another little bird.
Yeah. Well, what do you think of? Think of freedom, right? But right now, Twitter launched a pilot program today, saying that they will have users to flag tweets that they believe are misleading and write note to provide context. So this project called Bird Watch, okay, it's not like you going to the field to watch the birds, right? It's for people using the bird to watch out other people. Mm. So Twitter and the other social media companies have been under pressure to combat misinformation on their platforms. Twitter last year started adding labels and warnings about misinformation. Everybody, remember how they just label the, issues related to election and the COVID-19 pandemic. So this Birdwatch program is on a separate section of Twitter, and the only pilot participants who apply to the program will write posting identifying and rebutting misinformation. Their note will initially not be visible on Twitter for users outside of the pilot group, but will be visible on the Birdwatch site. Twitter said it will ultimately expect to have between 1,000 and 100,000, between 1,000 and 100,000 bird watchers who are being admitted on a rolling basis and who will not be paid. That's a difference between China, but we'll have to wait and see. Mm-hmm. So Twitter said eventually they will aim to make notes visible directly on tweet for the global Twitter audience. Okay, and so I just actually noticed on Chinese social media, some people who from mainland China, they said, "Oh, we'll have a blue guard now." Remember in the Cultural Revolution, we have the Chinese, not we, the Chinese Communist Party had the red guard, right? They have a red band around the arm. Yeah, and those. Yeah, tell our audience about what those red guard do.
Yeah, those so-called red guard. They are not guard. They're not military. They're just youngsters in their 14 through 18, and then they have this this red band here, and so basically they always just how to say, they they grab people and how to say it? What's the right word to say it? Like a 批判, right?
Yeah, they will just they will watch their teachers, watch their parents, watch their peers about what they talk about, what they say, if the teachers, if their peers, if their parents say something is against the government stance, government is different from the government's point of view, then they will report to the authority, and that they will be authorized to just gather together to just criticize,
criticize
heavily.
Yeah, just abuse someone. So they were actually, it's lawless, okay? So they were so-called politically correct. So everybody has to respect them because they represented the so-called the holy revolution. So they can do anything. They can attack anyone, grab anyone out of their home, and then abuse them and in the public so that the public can see that kind of a lawless type of young people. Sometimes they attack their parents because their parents think differently from their party, from the party. So this is what happened. Just really, really sad during the Cultural Revolution. And
this, I saw how Twitter saying they are building this community-driven system. It's really alarming. This community-driven system. It sounds like it's from the community, but it's really it's against First Amendment.
Yeah,
and it just make us to relate to the Red Guard from the China's Cultural Revolution.
Yeah, Trickly 1974, you said public shamers. Exactly, that was the word I was looking for. Thank you very much. And then Marine also said, just like Hitler's youth group. Exactly, yes, exactly, that's that. The youth group, and but only more, how to say, only more violent than they. So yeah, that was...
I know a lot of people already left Twitter, right? But I don't know. I don't know if we just leave such thing alone, how this is going to develop into.
Yeah, actually, before the show, Kathy wanted to talk about this piece of news. I said, no, forget about them. Let's just leave Twitter and start a new platform, like Safe Chat, and then just bury them. Twitter. But I agree. We need to talk about this. Whenever such thing happen, we need to just face it up front, so that and expose them so that they got no place to to live.
Yeah, and otherwise they will just believe everybody agrees with them, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that was okay. And then the last piece of news is about the polls. Actually, President Trump went through those charges of he instigate violence in the Capitol Hill, and then now there's impeachment trial happening against him, and so supposedly he should lose a lot of credit with the American people, which shall be reflected in the poll. So what does the poll say? Now, the next piece about the Rasmussen poll, to be honest, okay, just my personal opinion, I don't even think Rasmussen poll is accurate, but I think is the less inaccurate than most other polls.
Yeah,
most other polls, if you still read them, we are just making a joke of ourselves. They really, really trash their credibility completely. Okay, I think Rasmussen is could be more fair, but they are just less inaccurate. So what does it say?
Okay, so so we all know that Rasmussen reports daily. They have a daily presidential tracking poll. So for Monday, today is January 25th. It shows that 48% of likely voters approve of President Biden's job performance. So remember this number, 48 approval. And then 47 disapproval. Okay, 48 versus 47.
So another like 4%, 5%. They have no opinion.
Right. So maybe it's just too few days they haven't formed. I didn't find a chart. But let's take a look at that time President Trump, when he just came into office. The same times, the same day. What's his poll? Okay. Let's see. January 25th 2017. You look at the last two rows, total approval rate was 57.
I'm sorry, the last two rows, the first two rows.
The last two rows.
Okay.
Yeah. The total approval rate and the disapproval rate. The disapproval rate was 43. So remember, Biden's on the same day, it was 48 versus 47.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then let's also go back further. Former President Obama's second term. Let's watch C2. Okay, so on the January 25th, 2013, Obama's approval rate was 55 versus 44 disapproval. So comparatively for these three terms, actually Trump got the highest approval rate.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just interesting to watch.
Yeah, actually, Robert McCoy, you said poll don't mean anything. I agree with you. I think poll is a vastly, inaccurate. They're very, very way off. It's a shame that they still hold this profession, and they should all lose. They should all lose job. To be honest, nobody believes them. Okay, but relatively speaking, if you just if everything's off, you use something off compared to the previous time and this time, that still carries some value. So we're trying to dig out something out of something not so good. But unfortunately, we are looking for honest media, we're also looking for honest posters. I hope they will appear because there's a vacuum here. Nobody believe what they did. This 10 to 20, right? Posters, poster institutions. They just put up things that are simply just is joking about their own profession and abuse the public trust, and they don't earn that trust, so they destroy the trust themselves. But anyway, so hopefully in the future we would bring you something, some polls that would really mean something, and that's our job. What we keep looking for. And I just hope that in that profession can find a way. Some good people there would find a way to, regain their honor, their name.
Yeah, and last I wanted to actually share the little story that Sarah Huckabee Sanders talked about in his announcement. I thought it's a very nice kind of reminder. So in his YouTube announcement about his bid for the Arkansas governor, he started with talking about Sarah Huckabee Sanders. She started with former President Trump's unexpected trip to Iraq at Christmas Eve. You remember? On a Christmas day, actually. So it was an unexpected trip, and the soldiers in Iraq, like in the middle of nowhere, right? They are expecting like a higher ranking officer from military, but they saw President Trump. So one of the soldiers just said, President Trump, I re-enlisted myself because of you. And then she said, President Trump said, son, I'm here because of you. Then this soldier just also found Sarah and said, you had a tough job. And Sarah said, I politely corrected him. I handle questions, you handle bombs and the bullets. You have a tougher job, and we are in this together. So Sarah Sanders said, America is great because we are free. But today our freedom and the rule of law are under attack. To remain free, we must have law and order and resolve our difference peacefully. And he said that's why he ran for office, because he believes that governor must be on the front line. So I think it's a good reminder that, why this country is great, because it is free. And everybody, we just need to do what we can to protect this freedom.
Yeah, and also Ophelia Restrepo, you said, please cover the recent church bombing in El Monte, California. I want to know more about it, and no one is covering that. Okay, thank you for the lead. Well, dig into that and see whether we can find out some news about that. And also Renee Renee Salins, you wrote that could you please put a recommended reading list for us to learn about the Cultural Revolution? Yeah, that's really a good question. So we were thinking about, not just this, Renee. What I'm thinking about, Kathy and I were talking about, besides news, okay, like news every day, what else we can bring to this show? I thought about three things, okay? One is, I personally I want to bring to you that so what really unfolds in China, since 1949. So how does the socialism and communism unfolded itself? And then they got the power with a very good name. They said they are oppressed and they're fighting for the common people and so on. All the communists lie before they step into power. But since then, what kind of step they took to really just destroy the whole nation, except just for themselves. They build themselves into the absolute ruler. How did that happen? So that would take a series of talk. Okay. Another thing is about another version of the communism, which started in England and in Germany, then gradually in the Columbia University of the United States, then gradually just morph into today's so-called progressive, extreme leftist, democratic socialism, and so on and so forth. So that's a track over there that we can talk about. The third one would be just allow me to say here, okay, I'm not supposed to be expert here, but because of my job, I interview the many constitutionalists, the scholars, and the very founding value of this nation, okay, that I thought that would be worth a special series of talk. So among the three, the communists in China, communists in the West, and the founding values of America. So which one would you prefer? I just want to do a little survey. You can just type in the comment. We're gonna come back and then read those comments. And we do want to do this show for you. The very reason that we are here is for you. So also tell us about what other ideas you have, because we are designing for the next phase of the for this show. And we do want to create a show that really bring value to our fellow Americans. And
I wanted to appreciate Norman Seal for your donation support.
Thank you. Yeah,
and I saw a lot of likes, so really appreciate everyone.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much and for spending the time with us. And we'll be here tomorrow again and the day after, Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Western time, U.S. Western time. I'm your host, Wei Fang.
And I'm Kathy.
From San Francisco, California. Until tomorrow.
Take care.
Good night.
Bye-bye.